Okay, so now it's time to start, and welcome all to Aalto Design Factory. And I'm here now to say a couple of words before we actually give the floor to our candidates and our fine host. So on behalf of the Student Union, welcome. And first I'm going to explain where we actually are at the moment. We're in Aalto Design Factory, and it's really difficult to explain this place without using all the buzzwords of this year. So I'm going to go ahead and use all of them. So Aalto Design Factory is basically a place, a platform which nurtures interdisciplinary projects and cooperation, and where like all people from different fields of study can join on the common projects and find new innovations and new fine ways to do things. But then to actually the subject I'm going to discuss, so I'm going to actually give a short speech on what we're actually discussing tonight. So, the European Union, that's what the election is all about at the moment, and European Union has above all been a project of like peaceful cooperation, finding a way to keep peace through freedom of people's movements, of freedom movement of ideas and goods within Europe. And its primary goal has been outstanding success. We've shared like several decades of outstanding and immense prosperity and peace, much of which is we have like EU to thank for. But although it's been really successful, EU is full of contradictions. The Union began as a community for coal and steel cooperation, but nowadays one of the shared goals is how to cut down on carbon emissions. And whereas EU has its roots in heavy industry, well, nowadays 40% or a little over 40% of the annual budget is spent on agricultural subsidies, whereas only 5.4% of the population actually work in the field of agriculture. Free trade is also one of the key topics in EU, and it's been like the major issue in the agenda. But although we rely on the free trade within our community, one of the key things EU does is also through tariffs, taxes, and restrictions, tries to keep certain types of products outside the EU. So in terms, it does free trade, but in the same time protects its own boundaries. And one of the key issues is also peace. Whereas EU aims to promote peace through cooperation, when it's also unable to find a unified voice when actually the conflict comes to its very doorstep. So that's also a very, very large contradiction. Well, the challenges we face today are global and complex, and the solutions are pretty much shared by all Europeans. We have the same issues, we have the same solutions. And although still, in times of economic hardship, in times of turmoil, more and more countries turn inwards towards just their own citizens' agenda, their own good, whereas the issues we should solve today are global and complex. So it's really odd that we're actually turning inwards when one of the key success stories in the EU has been through cooperation. So, tonight we're here to discuss where all this is actually heading. So where we are heading as a people, as a nation, and then also, of course, as a union, and heck, also as a continent. So, on behalf of Aalto University Student Union, I wish you all a good debate, and enjoy the evening. Thanks. Now let's give a warm round of applause to our host, Juhani Mykkänen.
Well, thanks everyone. How are you doing?
Fine.
Great. We have Sirpa Pietikäinen here telling she is fine, so I hope everyone else is fine as well. Let's give a big applause for all the candidates here. They haven't even shown up yet, but just give a round of applause. Let's practice this. Let's not make this into like one of those boring debates where the audience just starts like drifting over and using their cell phones. And Sirpa, this considers you as well. So.
I'm tweeting what we are doing.
Okay, tweeting is allowed at all times. Yeah, exactly. And I saw you taking a picture of this, which is, I find it's very cool for the graphic design also. Round of applause for this graphic design, yeah. Okay, but let's get to the point. We are here for the next 2 hours for this panel for the European parliamentary election, which is taking place in a few weeks. And we have a panel which we have almost every large party represented here. Unfortunately, Lee Andersen couldn't make it, and her party couldn't, at this time, they couldn't find a substitute for her. So unfortunately, she isn't here. But other than that, we're going to have a great time. The panel is going to be divided into 3 different sections. And in these sections, we're going to be having like a different kind of questions. We'll have some questions which are directed to all of the candidates here, and then we'll have some individual questions. We'll have some questions from the audience. We'll have some questions which you answer, just yes or no, and stuff like that. We also, for the audience questions, we have this cool throwbox kind of microphone, which it actually works like this. It's a mic, but you can just throw it around. So, Jyrki, could you catch this? And could you say something there in the box?
Hello, box.
Yeah. So, hello world, hello box. Cool. So, just can you throw it? Yeah, like that. So. Yeah, exactly. But whenever someone needs to ask something, just yell out that you need this one, or just try to tell the person who's the one who's having this. I will be having it here for the moment, and when you need to say something, just raise your hand. We have this hashtag. It's called EU Debate. That's available on Twitter for this. If you want to tweet about anything that's going on here, and we have people with the student union who will be following the Twitter feed. So they will be picking some questions from there and bringing them here on the stage for me to ask the candidates. Also, you might have noticed we have these blue and red papers, which are for questions requiring an answer between yes or no. The candidates will use them for answering, but also the audience can use them whenever they feel that the candidate is saying something which is kind of cool. So it's like yes, so it's kind of the blue piece of paper. If it's like boring, if it's like a no, that's wrong, don't say that, shut up, then it's like red piece of paper. So let's try. Do you understand how the pieces of papers work? Okay, cool. Yeah, candidates, your papers are here waiting for you. We didn't want to trust you with them beforehand in case you ripped them or something. Another question I want to ask you guys, have you already decided who are you going to be voting for? With the piece of paper? Okay, we have a lot of red ones, so maybe this panel will make a difference here. And are you ready for the debate to begin? Yeah, that's way better than applauding. It's just with the pieces. Okay, cool. So, and just by the way, I try to be the most, I try to be the dumbest person in the room. I think it's my responsibility as the host to kind of, if I don't understand what you guys are saying, your candidates, I'm going to be, interrupting you. I'm going to be, I really want you to make your points really clear, and I want the audience to ask if you don't understand or if you think the candidate is bullshitting us in some way or anything like that. But, they would never do that. They're politicians. Also, we have Johanna here with the bell. So many questions will have like some kind of time limit, like half a minute, 1 minute, something like that. So she will ring the bell whenever the time is up. So you better stop talking, or you will, not get any votes. Okay, let's start. We will start by having each candidate here on the stage one by one, just to have their seats, but and also have a brief introduction. So first, we have Mr. Janne Paalijärvi from the Pirate Party. Can we get a round of applause for him? Okay, please have the mic. So can you just introduce yourself with just a couple of short sentences, like who are you, where do you come from?
I'm Janne Paalijärvi, and I come from the internet, and I want to preserve it for the future generations also.
That's cool. And why do you think the European Parliament needs a Finnish pirate?
We already have Swedish pirates there, and they have been doing great job. And I think same kind of work needs to be done more.
Okay. Which one says the better R?
I think the Swedish pirates.
Okay. An honest pirate, that's the first. Cool. Can I have this? And you can please have your seat. So, And next up, we will ask Mr. Jyrki Kasvi to join us on the stage. So, same here. Can you just introduce yourself with a couple of sentences? What do you want to say up front?
Hello, my name is Jyrki Kasvi. I'm working in the Finnish Information Society Development Center, but in my past I worked here for about 20 years as a researcher in the former Helsinki University of Technology.
Cool. So, Otaniemi has, traditionally been like strong ground for you. What could you say or do tonight that could completely destroy it for you here?
Well, I could, for example, say that next year I wouldn't spend the May Day Eve in Otaniemi, but I won't say that because I will be here.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks, Jyrki. Okay. And next up, can I ask Christina Gestrin here on the stage? So, big round of hand for Christina. So please, a couple of sentences about yourself first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Gestrin, and I'm a member of Parliament in Finland. I have been in Parliament since 2000, and I'm living here in Espoo, and also a member of the Council of the city of Espoo. And a long time ago, I didn't study here in Otaniemi, though I lived here close in Munkkiniemi, but I studied at the University of Helsinki, and my main subject was environmental conservation.
Cool. So, and so like you're a parliamentary, you're a member of the Finnish Parliament at the moment, but still we have you're one of the a bit less known candidates here for maybe many of the students in Otaniemi. So could you please continue the sentence? You might not have heard about me, but I'm the best candidate here because.
Okay, I'm the best candidate here because I really want to do something for the youth of Europe. I think that the youth unemployment is one of the biggest problems we have right now, and I promise that if I am elected to the European Parliament, this will be one of my main subjects.
Great, thanks a lot. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Jyrki Kasvi here represents, of course, the Green Party, and Christina Gestrin represents the how do you say it in English? Swedish People's Party. Yeah. And you might see me tackle with some of the English words because I know this stuff in Finnish, of course, and I have tried to prepare, but just give me a break if I mess something up. First up, Mr. Simon Elo from the Finns Party.
So, my name is Simon Elo, I'm from Espoo as well. I'm member of the City Council and I've been the chairman of the Finns Party Youth for the last 4 years. Nice to be here.
Cool. And so, sorry, it's Simon, so not Simon, yeah.
Well, whatever you want to say, you're the chairman.
Okay, cool. I like the attitude. So we are holding this panel right here in English. As a Finn, would you be for that choice? Is it a good choice?
Well, you can check my video from YLA and check if my English is good or not and hear me here, so you decide, not me.
But do you think it's a good thing to have like this,
Sure,
for the
sure, no problem.
Cool.
I mean, this is more my second language than Swedish is actually, even though I've learned Swedish as well, so I mean, I can speak 3 different languages relatively well, Finnish included, but English is stronger for me personally than, for example, Swedish.
Great, thanks. Okay, and next up we have Sari Essayah from the Christian Democrat Party.
Hi to everyone, I'm Sari Essayah from the Finnish Christian Democrats, and at the moment I'm the member of the European Parliament. In the European Parliament I've been working with the Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee and also in the Committee of Employment and Social Affairs Committee, and before being elected to the European Parliament I was Secretary of General of the Finnish Christian Democrats, and before that I was the member of the National Parliament here in Helsinki.
Cool. So I have to ask you, since you're a member of the Christian Party, are there many non-Christians who are voting for you? And in your opinion, what is their reason for doing so?
Well, Christian democracy, it's a European ideology, and as you may know, the biggest biggest parties in power now in Europe are actually Christian democratic parties. For example, in Germany, CDU, and it's a leading party. And in Christian democracy, the values are coming from the Christianity. We are not using Bible as a tool of making politics.
Cool. Thanks. Please have a seat. I'm just gonna have to check. So we have, yeah, that's for you. And then I would like to ask Sirpa Pietikäinen from the National Coalition Party here.
Hi for everybody. Great to be here because Helsinki School of Economics is my alma mater. Graduated there main in strategic planning, then business admin and economics. And since then I've been teaching the negotiation theories in Helsinki School of Economics and sort of nowadays in Aalto University, so feeling really homey right now. And then, of course, in European Parliament, sharing the same committee with Sari and a couple of other MEPs, plus first vice chair in the Internal Market Committee and getting kicks from the digital, not divide, but agenda.
You're one of the more experienced candidates here. Looking at the crowd here, seeing their students and, people like that, what have you learned in your career what's the secret weapon that you will use tonight to win the audience on your side?
My opinions. And sort of this kind of a Nordic women's guts. Say what you think, don't think what you say.
Great. I hope you will, stand by that. And then from here we have a special door for some special people. Can I ask Mr. Mr. Timo Harakka is ready. Cool. So we have Timo Harakka with the Social Democratic Party. Good to see you, Timo. So can you introduce yourself with a couple of short sentences?
Hi, great to be here. Thanks for being invited. Yes, my name is Timo Harakka. I'm a 51-year-old journalist. I've been working for the Finnish National Broadcasting Company for 17 years, and I'm specialized in European Union and international economics, written 3 books on these subjects, so I feel I'm more than qualified to be a representative in the European Parliament. Yeah. And I was glad to read this in this morning's newspaper as well.
Cool. So this is a bit similar question to what I asked Jyrki. So you're a media professional. What is something that you could say here tonight that that could cause like a media kind of turmoil for you, which will ruin the candidacy for you?
Oh. That was a tough one. Well, why would I want to do that?
Just it doesn't do it like really, but just give it that thought. What could it be?
What could I say? Something that would ruin my candidacy?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, wow. This is yes, exactly. Yes, I've been opposing austerity very strongly in my new book and consistently for a few years now. So if I just change my mind abruptly now, saying, well, the austerity has been very good, pro-growth. We're very happy about the mass unemployment that we've caused, and poverty is a great thing, so I think that I pretty much lost my case.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I knew you'd make it. Cool. Thanks. And last up, we have Mr. Antti Kaikkonen with the Centre Party. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Antti Kaikkonen. I'm a 40-year-old dude from city of Tuusula. I've been a member of Finnish Parliament about 11 years now. Right now I'm working in the Economic Committee of the Parliament and the Environmental Affairs Committee of the Finnish Parliament. Running to the European Parliament, this is my second time. I was actually candidating also the last time. I got 19,000 votes, which was good result, but not good enough. But let's see how it goes this time.
Exactly. So, many people know you from dancing on television, but besides that, what is the one thing that truly separates you from all the other candidates here?
Well, I'm not sure about this, especially about Mr. Kasvi, but I can say that I spent a lot of time in the Servi cottage here.
So Servin mökki,
Yeah, Servin mökki, yes. But I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Jyrki and somebody else has been here also, but I know something about this place also.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. So here we have the candidates. Let's give them a big hand. So Antti, no, over here. We have a special seat for you. Cool. Okay. So, hello. Hi. Can you see I'm doing it for the first time? Do I?
You're better than we are.
Okay, so the first theme here, as I told you guys, we're going to be doing 3 different themes, and the first one is going to be the economics and also the employment policies. Yeah. So as a warm-up, there is a video that we would like to show. This is a short video from Spain. And in this video, you will see some effects of the economic downturn that has been taking place in the last few years. So let's watch this video first, and then we'll get to business.
This has become a noisy daily routine. Every morning, people who work in Spain's public hospitals cut the traffic on this main road in Madrid. Angry about government cuts, they're marshalled by the police.
This is an indication of just how strong people feel in Spain about the cuts to public health. The government is cutting billions off the budget, but there's one section of society that's particularly affected by austerity.
That group is the young. Students like Aida Gutierrez, who's now studying to become a doctor. When she finally finishes 6 years of study, she'll do 4 as a junior doctor. She knows things will be harder with ever fewer jobs and resources in Spain's public health system.
I'm worried about not finding anything of my specialty, because it's really difficult to study and work like 10 years and then go into a hospital and don't find anything. It's really, really hard.
And what if you don't find something in your speciality?
I'm sure that I'm not going to stay here until someone calls me that you have any place. I'm going out because I want to work like as a doctor.
You want to go abroad?
Yeah.
Then there are the junior doctors of today. Ana Romiguera is a psychiatrist, but she's on a temporary contract with no guarantee of work beyond this month.
When I started my specialty, I thought I would have now a really established work, a permanent job in the public health, and so quite well paid. But I think this is a thing of the past.
Analysts say austerity is hurting the young most.
The government wants to reduce public sector. He has to have less public workers. So in the way, they have 2 ways to do that. To lay off people, and they don't want to do that, or don't contract new people, and they are not contracting anyone.
The frustration of some of Spain's young spilled over last week. Many of the government's measures have not even taken effect. And there's likely to be more of this to come. Tom Burridge, BBC News, Spain.
Okay. So just before we get to business, do we have the other mic? Is it on that side? Cool. So I will give this mic for you, Simon. And yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So and beginning with you, Janne. You know, the first questions were a bit funny, but now we have some actual, real questions which are dealing with actual subjects prepared by the people of the student union. And the first question for all of you is going to be a 30-second question. We want to hear something concrete. As background, last year, unemployment of EU residents between ages 15 to 24 was at 22.8%. In Finland, the unemployment rate of the young is around 17%, and it's increasing rapidly. And here's the question. As a member of European Parliament, how would you tackle the problem of European youth unemployment? Name one concrete solution. Janne, please go.
Okay, I think I would cut the agricultural subsidies and move that money to support employment of youth, because the agricultural subsidies is a large part of the EU budget.
Okay.
I think I would invest on education because sooner or later this recession will end and we will start needing competent workforce again. But to survive until that, I would not follow the austerity program, but help people to educate themselves with skills needed in the future economy, because the economy is changing, and many of even our young people have already outdated skills.
Okay. Education is very important, but I would support the creation of a strong market in clean tech. I think that clean tech is one of the sectors that is growing fastest in the world, and I think that this would mean a lot of opportunities to get new jobs for young people.
Well, this is a hard question in a sense because I don't think that the European Union should be a social tool for any kind of social policy. I would like to reform the Union as only a free trade zone. So in my mind, the Union shouldn't tackle this problem in any way. It should be on the national governments and on the free trade zone to create growth. So in my mind, it's up to the national governments.
Thanks. Just hold on. Yes, Sari, please.
In the Employment and Social Affairs Committee, we have already established this European Youth Guarantee Scheme. And with this scheme, the purpose is that a young person is giving a job, maybe sometimes if it's possible to give some subsidies to entrepreneur to give this job for a young person, and then or a possibility for further education, or then also possibility for social workshop. And with this scheme, we are trying to the national governments to work with the youth unemployment problem, and so Youth Guarantee Scheme is already invited for this problem.
To concentrate on environmentally friendly, resource-efficient growth, on innovations, information technology, on products and services, and to ensure social stability. That means we would need more tools for fairer level playing field on social matters. Plus then there are concrete, meanwhile, actions like the Youth Guarantee Scheme.
Well, there are Spanish young people with academic degrees working as toilet cleaners and dishwashers in Germany. I call this neo-colonialism. That's caused by austerity. It's a tragic neoliberal ideological crusade that needs to stop now. So instead of deconstruction, we need reconstruction. And that is exactly what's needed. A big stimulus on public works in Europe starting now.
Great job, guys, from the audience. As you can see, we have members of the audience lifting their pieces of paper and showing if they're like what the candidate is saying or if they're against it. And keep that up. That's cool.
I think in Finland we have a good idea to tackle the youth unemployment. The idea of youth guarantee, that every single young people, the society, the state will find a place to work, place to practice work, or place to study. And I think we need a similar idea in the European Union, that we need a binding legislation about this, that every single country should tackle the youth unemployment with a similar idea as we have in Finland.
And thanks everyone for the first answers. Here in the panel we will be mixing different kind of question formats. So we will have some of these questions for everyone, and then we will have some individual questions in between. And the first individual question will go to Mr. Timo Harakka. And let's get this out of the box, because many people know you have been talking about austerity. And just for the audience, I will read from the paper that austerity means policies by governments which are meant to reduce budget deficits during adverse economic conditions. So this basically that means like spending cuts and increases in taxes, or a mixture of these. And Timo, in your columns you have talked a lot about the consequences of strict austerity policies in EU. and what this has done to Finland. Same time, your party, the Social Democratic Party, and its chairperson, Jutta Urpilainen, have been demanding even stricter austerity in Europe and in Finland. What is your solution to the economic hardship Europe is facing? If not austerity, what is your option and how will it be financed? And you have 1 minute for the answer.
Well, let's get the record straight here. In 2010, the European governments and the European Union had a stark choice to make, whether to bail out banks that had burned their fingers in the financial crisis or to guarantee employment as had been done in the US. Instead of thinking about of stimulus, which Obama put in force to answer this crisis, the European Union opted for neoliberal austerity policies. And the left in all European countries, including Finland, opposed this strongly, but we lost that battle. So when the Social Democrats returned to the government, we inherited this this misinformed and tragic policy that has caused terrible solutions, a social crisis, employment crisis in Europe. That means 10 million new unemployed people in 5 years. That means 120 million people living in brink of poverty and social exclusion. So we definitely are against and opposed to all this tragic ideological crusade.
Thanks. And can we get the mic to Mr. Janne Paalijärvi? So next question is for him. The party you're representing, the Pirate Party, is well known for its stances on like things as freedom of speech or intellectual property rights.
Yes.
We don't know. Many of us don't know that like a lot about other things you guys stand for. So how would you place yourself on the political, like traditional left-right, political map? And please explain why would you, position yourself there?
Okay. I think I'm in the liberal side, and because I really like freedom of speech and privacy and civil liberties. These are the main points, and these are the facts and things why I'm running as a candidate. These copyright issues, actually, they don't mind that much to me. I'm all in for civil liberties, and that's why I think I'm mostly liberal. Thanks.
Thanks. And then we are next up to Christina Gestrin. So here we have like a bit of more specific question, which also requires explaining some background to the audience and also to me. So I will read from the paper. But this is there's been a lot of talk about the free trade agreement between the EU and the USA, and this is something that your party has been for this free trade agreement. But there's this kind of clause in this agreement that it gives some companies the possibility to sue actual countries. Like for example, in Australia, there has been a case where a tobacco company sued the country of Australia because they changed how tobacco packs should look like, how they should represent the fact that tobacco is dangerous. In Finland, there is a possibility that, for example, if this free trade agreement would take place, that an American mining company could sue Finland, the country of Finland, for posing some kind of legislation that the company would feel that it's kind of messing with their business. Why would you be for this kind of agreement?
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that the discussions about the free trade agreement are still going on. They have just begun, in fact. So it's a long way to go before we have an agreement. So you can't say that we don't know. Nobody knows today what the agreement will look like. And my party is not like absolutely for the agreement in every case. We have some criteria. And for example, Grand Committee, which I am a member of, we just said our opinion about that, and we lifted up issues like environmental concern, the concern for food, the safety of food, something about culture. I mean, there are certain conditions and criteria that we want to be taken account of when the agreement is discussed. So it's not white and black, as you said, for my party either, and for Finland.
Thank you. Just hold on to the mic for a second. And audience, please remember that feel free to challenge the candidates at any point. Just raise your hand. I will throw you guys this cube. Just cool thing to throw. So even it doesn't have to be a good question. Let's just throw this thing around. Okay, we have next up something for every candidate, which this is for the first theme, which is the economics and the employment. Let me just check where I'm going. So here, the EU internal market is based on 4 different freedoms. These are freedom of movement of goods, capital, services, and people. So movement of goods, capital, services, and people. You have those pieces of paper and you have your pens. So please take a second and, in your opinion, which of these 4 is the most important? Choose one, and then you will have 30 seconds to explain your position. So 4 freedoms: freedom of movement of goods, capital, services, and people. And you're not allowed to cheat by looking at the right answer from the people, other people. So. Okay, and everyone's finished. So Timo, can you give the mic to Antti here so we can start from Mr. Antti Kaikkonen, and just show the audience your answer, and you have 30 seconds to explain why you wrote people.
Well, I think the best achievement of the European Union is stability and peace. And if you look at the long history of Europe, it's not clear that we have peace right now. The history of Europe is the history of wars. And I think the free movement of people helps us to live in peace. I think that's the key point.
Okay. And then Timo, can you pass the mic, please?
Well, I guess this is not a big surprise. I think the free movement of people has brought a lot of good things, starting from student exchange, the Erasmus program, I think one of the greatest successes of the European Union, and in general, the multicultural dialogue that we have between different countries is something that is a guarantee of welfare and peace in Europe. So if there must be a choice between the free movement of capital or people, so the choice is pretty easy.
People, of course. The whole EU is for the people. That's why we have the constitutional rights, and it is stated in our constitutional agreements also. And by the way, it is the people who make the businesses, the services, and the capital. The point is, we do not have adequate tools to safeguard the constitutional rights for the people. And this is our big task for the future.
Well, this is kind of boring because people is also my choice. Of course, we have some challenges when it comes to free movement of labor because, for example, our social security systems are very different, and when we are trying to guarantee that everyone is in some social security system but not misusing these systems. So this is a challenge, but still I'm for the free movement of people and free movement of labor. We have to just tackle this challenge.
Okay. Cool, we have a new answer, yeah.
So why did I choose this instead of all those others? Well, in my mind, the biggest positive side that I have gotten from the internal market, which I feel is the positive side of the EU, is the relative easiness of getting some goods from like Britain or United States or any country, and especially through the internet. Usually these days I order all of my CDs, DVDs, video games, everything almost from the internet, from other countries, so that's a plus side.
Yes, I chose people as well, and my party and we really defend, of course, a Europe that is borderless, and I think that this is also very important for young people we spoke about youth unemployment, and one way to tackle that is to give the opportunity for young people to move around and live where they want to live and study where they want to study in Europe.
This is getting boring. Of course, freedom of people is more important than freedom of money or freedom of goods. And I have also personal reasons, because I want to travel myself. I want to go where I want to live, where I want to study, where I want to spend my retirement. Of course. And if I want to do that, everybody else has to have that right too.
Yes, I chose also people because, as said earlier, I'm a strong believer of human rights and civil liberties, and I think that's why of these 4 options, people is the best one.
At this point, I just want to ask the audience, like when we asked the question, or when I asked the question, how many of you, by a show of blue nose, how many of you had like an easy answer in your mind? Like which one of these 4 would you have chosen? Show. Okay. So like about half. Okay. And for how many of those it would have been people? Okay. Okay. So we need to send a message that at least we need the people to be free to move. So, did you have something in your? Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so because the question was a bit boring, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Then what is the least important of those 4 principles and why? If you want to reduce from any of those, which one would it be?
That's an excellent question. Let's have a quick like a 10-second. You don't have to write, just a 10-second round, or like a one sentence. Janne, can we begin with you? Janne.
Yes. I think if I have to choose something, well, it's a tough choice, but maybe it's the services.
So we have goods, capital, services, and people. Yeah.
Services would cause least trouble at the moment, but in the future, actually electronic services are going to become more and more important, and they are going to cross borders more and more frequently. So in the future, that would hit us bad.
Yes, I'm afraid you will get these boring answers because I would say services too. But I really wouldn't like to answer to your question, because I think that all these 4 freedoms are important.
Well, I'm not so boring, so it's people. And why? Why? Because it has most of the problems of all of these 4. All of these 4 are pretty good in principle, but most of the problems concern people. Sorry to say.
Okay. Can you pass the mic here? Okay, cool.
Services, because many services are local or domestic, and so there are not that cross-border services. Of course, excluding IT services, which are in internet. But I would pick up services.
Yes, services I would say too, but it's a bit of an artificial answer, because to me it is just the same stuff in different package, the capital, the goods and the services, because this is sort of the product per se.
Well, I don't want to stop the free movement of capital, but I'm not sorry to restrict it a bit. What we need is a financial transactions tax.
Well, my answer is services, because I see more possibilities to create jobs when we have a free movement of goods and free movement of capital. The free movement of services is needed also, but I think it's not so important.
Thanks. Okay, that was it for the first part. Well, off to the second part, which will be climate and energy. So climate and energy. And for this part as well, we will be watching a video, which I hope will be getting on the screen shortly.
And is climate change one of your concerns? How How about we tackle all these problems at the same time? Yes, it's possible. That's why the European Commission has proposed new climate and energy targets up to 2030. By firstly cutting harmful greenhouse gas emissions by 40% below 1990 levels, with the ultimate goal of reducing them by at least 80% by 2050. Does this sound a bit ambitious to you? Well, we've already lowered our emissions by 18% since 1990, while our gross domestic product has grown by 45%. So even if fighting global warming is a real challenge, it's an opportunity for our economy as well. First of all, it will be good for competitiveness and innovation. Many sectors will develop quickly in the coming years, such as sustainable construction, clean transport, energy-efficient products, renewable energy. For instance, green jobs already increased from 3 million in 2002 to 4.2 million in 2011, and that's just the beginning. Secondly, by favouring renewable energy and energy-efficient solutions, we also reduce our dependence on imported energy, and with this, our oil import bill, which is €1 billion per day. The EU is not alone in taking climate action. Many countries are on the same track, but Europe is clearly leading the way. From now until 2020, at least 20% of the EU budget will be spent on climate action. That's around €180 billion. So, tackling climate change means business. Good business. And it's everybody's business. 2030 goals for climate and energy. Europe is showing the way towards a safe and prosperous low-carbon future for our planet and our economy.
So, as you can see, that was a video by the European Commission. That was just to bring up some thoughts. The question here is twofold, or it comes in two parts. So the first task for you guys is to write down one word which, in your opinion, describes the state of the European climate politics at the moment, or the current energy and climate policy. Yeah, one word, the union's current energy and climate policy. Okay, and now, is everyone ready? Beginning with Simon. You have 30 seconds.
I knew this.
Yeah. Explain why you chose that word, and then tell us what should change during the next term with the policy. And you have 30 seconds, so be brief.
Right. First of all, I would say faith. Why? I'm a religious person myself. I'm a Christian, but if I look at the arguments that religion is dying, well, if you look at the environmentalist movement, it's not dying, it's growing. Faith on atheist kind of religion of environmentalism, not based, in my mind, in many concrete arguments, more on faith. But what I would change is, first of all, this video by the European Commission. It's more like a video from the Green Party. So that's the first thing that I would change. Fire this guy who made the video and make it again.
Yeah. Christina, please.
Okay, I have ambitious, because I think that is what Europe should be when it comes to climate politics. And it is one of the greatest problems that we have and will have always in the future, I think. What we can do is to develop technology, clean technology, and that was also what the video was telling about. And I think that the Nordic countries together should work on that.
As Christine said, we should be ambitious. The EU policy is unambitious because we don't have so much time to waste that as European Union is planning to waste before reaching the 80% goal.
Yes, I chose fuzzy because at some point the European Union is saying that they should provide more jobs to people, and in the same time also they want all these clean tech and energy stuff, and I really don't know how we can kind of have them both at the same time. I'm a bit fuzzy about this.
Okay, and sorry, can you...
Yes. I have here word challenge or challenging, because I think that we are really having a situation where we should think that the global agreement would be better. At the moment we are making one-sided policy, and I'm a bit worried that we are actually exporting not only our emissions but also our jobs outside Europe. And so I think that this new target 2030 with 40% cut, it's much better than what we have had during this season 2020 targets, which are very confusing.
So my term, it's modest, get real, and Google your pads, and check the challenge, and we are far behind. The sooner we act, the better business we get. The later we react, the more expensive it's going to get. And you think financial crisis was a problem. You think Ukraine crisis is a threat. Please reconsider.
That's well said. My word is leading. We want to show the way to the rest of the world, and I have an answer for the two of you that had problems with combining employment, good jobs with environmental protection and climate policy. That is that, first of all, that's clean tech is going to be a huge business, the bigger business in Finland we've never seen. And on the other hand, what we can do and need to do is to impose carbon barriers in Europe, so we can, if the carbon footprint of other countries is too large, so we can stop these products from our markets.
More regulation. Okay, my word is stable. I like that video, but I think the European Union is not doing enough. It's doing too little and too slow. But it has an important role in the world anyway, because we need the whole world to work with this issue, and it's more or less vital to get a binding agreement of these emissions next year in the UN Congress of Climate Change.
Thanks. At this point, I would like to say we're about halfway through. Thanks for all the candidates for giving the answers in the required time. Can we give them a hand for keeping it short?
Thank you very much. Yeah. You are doing good also.
Okay, so that means I will have to ask you, Antti, something next. So
thanks.
Let's talk about energy and Russia, shall we?
Okay.
Cool. So you know, and we all know that, for example, Finland and the Baltic states are very highly dependent on Russian energy, Russian gas, and you have stated that you would like Europe to be more independent from Russia. Can you state 3 concrete things that EU should do in order to become less dependent on Russia, energy-wise? You have 1 minute.
I think the most important thing for the next European Parliament is to regulate that every single country should have a binding goal to increase the use of renewable energy. And that's a very important issue, and every single country should work with that issue after that. And I think we should also create new technology to decrease the use of oil and gas. That's very important also. And also we need campaigning and work of sparing energy. That's 3 points actually.
Great. Yeah. Okay, that's not...
It's simple.
Yeah. In half an hour you will answer in 5 seconds. It's going to be a race who answers the shortest. Okay, cool. And the next one will go to Mr. Jyrki Kasvi. Can you... Okay, so as the EU is so dependent on external energy resources, the EU nations are often easily played against each other by major energy-rich nations like Russia. You are in favor of giving more competences to the EU in foreign policy questions. Should energy policy also be considered a foreign policy matter? And how would you develop EU's external policies in energy? 1 minute as well.
Well, at least we'll need an European energy policy, and that would make us less dependent on Russia, and we should combine Nordic and Central European electricity networks so that it would be easier to transport electricity from, for example, from Germany to Sweden and further from Sweden to Finland, because nowadays we are only playing in this Nord Pool market. So that would dramatically already reduce the dependency on Russia. And what is more, this LNG terminal that we are building allows us to import natural gas, not only from Russia, but also from other sources. And that is European policy already.
No comments here? Cool. And then we have a question from Mr. Simon Elo. And sticking to our theme of energy and climate policy. So, your party, Finns party, has stated that you oppose current measures like emissions trading to stop the climate change. What, in your opinion, would be the alternative, or is it like, are you willing to kind of let this be some problem for the future generations to solve?
Well, I don't remember the exact English name for the option that we had in Finnish. It's ominaispäästöjärjestelmä, so I don't really recall the English name. But it would, in simple way, in short, explain how to explain it. It would be that you pay as much as you have emissions from companies and such. So we feel that there is technology to do this in this way and not on the current system. But on the other hand, it makes me tremble to see the amount of money that the EU is going to spend on this issue to tackle the climate change, because in my mind, it's not the first thing for us to concern. The immediate concern that we have in the EU at the moment is Ukraine, the Euro crisis, and the democratic crisis that we'll be having in Finland when we have the union as a federal union, and that's the first thing that I would like to tackle. Not the issues that the Green Party or the European Commission, that seems to be the Green Commission, is trying to give to us.
So powerful and influential.
You seem to be. Unfortunately.
Well, 101. We have an audience question over there. Good catch.
All right, so climate change is a fact, and there's a large consensus among all environmental researchers about this. And so you all talking about reducing emissions, but
I haven't.
The state of matter is that it's not enough, actually. So climate change is happening even if we got our emissions to zero right now. The global temperature will still rise. Is there any kind of initiative in the EU or among your parties or whatever to address this problem? I mean,
is this a question for everyone, or do you want to?
For everyone, yeah, everyone.
So
anybody who has an answer to this.
Yeah, so let's try. If the more we have answers, the shorter we need to keep them. So if there's someone who really wants to answer this, then okay. Well, someone has the mic, so you can start and then. Yeah.
Well, the European Union amounts of about 8% of the emissions, CO2 emissions of the whole globe. So whatever we do, we cannot be the leading one. In essence, because we cannot solve the problem alone. What we should do, and which I favor for, is to have some kind of a global agreement. And the main problem is, of course, that the United States haven't agreed on a global agreement. We have done so, and that's fine by me. But what we are doing wrong, in my mind, is that we are trying to be the leading one, even though it doesn't help us and it doesn't help the world at all.
Okay, and next up we have Sirpa Pietikäinen and then Christina, Gestrin.
No shit, Sherlock, we need a global agreement. That was the news. Wow. I guess guys have been trying to make it and are still trying to make it as well as they can, but you can't just sit and wait for it. But actually, yes, you are part of the solution as well. And what is the part of the solution? Actually, our target by 2015, the EU and globally, should be not -80, It should be minus 110, okay, or 120. Then you ask, how is that possible? That comes to, on the Gulfs, that means on greening the societies. And of course it's forests, but not only that, it's urban planning, green roofs, green walls, and the amount of greening what you have on your cities. That is the biggest unexplored possibility. Plus it makes it easier, cleaner and prettier.
Thanks. And Christina Gestrin.
Which one is the Green Party candidate? I'm not
You know, today all of us, except you perhaps, are green candidates.
Okay.
So I myself,
Green Party
I believe in green growth, even if I'm a member of the Swedish People's Party. Of course, we already have climate change here today. So when I speak about clean tech, I also mean technology for adaptation. And I think that the climate issues, climate politics really should be something that goes into all the sectors in politics. So we already know we have, and EU has to in a way to adjust to a future where climate change happens. What we can do is to try to make this development to change, and also, of course, we have to do what we can to make the societies ready, and to also to adapt to the change that will come, unfortunately.
Thanks. Okay, very quick.
So may I just return to my original trade solution? So instead of just a carrot for these global contracts that never seem to come to fruit, so we can use the stick. So when we have the US-EU free trade negotiations, so why does not environment play a part of it? So why not have a trade barrier on too big carbon footprints? And as a matter of fact, that was not proposed by any green, lefty, suspicious hippie, but the CEO of Autotech company, one of the leading clean tech companies in Finland.
Okay, and just 15 seconds for Sirpa Pietikäinen, and then we'll
Very quickly, that proposal is on the table. You might go and check Eco-Design Directive, that is very meager at the moment. There actually we should have the carbon footprint, and yes, it is on the table of the Commission. Can't get it through because of the political opposition.
Okay, thanks. And then, sorry, we have to move on. You'll have your chance to talk about something else. So, okay, yeah, we have the throw box over there. Cool.
It's just a comment, really. When I hear people sort of saying that we don't need to reduce emissions, or talking about climate denial, it makes me think about when I was a child and I would read in books that people thought that the Earth was flat. It kind of makes me think of that. So I'm quite shocked to hear even one person making these sorts of comments on this panel.
Well, that was such a so you can comment on that in 10 seconds. On this, let's do it on this.
So I just put it on this, okay. Yeah. First of all, if you think about science, there should always be space for doubt. If I'm the person here that's doubting this fact that you are presenting to me, we are living in a democracy. If we would be living in an undemocratic country, I would be lynched because of thinking how I think. I think that it is a fact that we have a phenomenon called climate change, but I'm critical of what's the amount of what human is doing on that phenomenon. So I think that the phenomenon in essence is a fact, but what is the amount of influence by the humans is in doubt in my mind.
I'm sorry, Jyrki, we cannot take this in a climate change debate. It's like a... Okay, 5 words.
If there were doubt of climate change, we should do something even based on a doubt.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Profitable anyway.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next bit, because next up we have story time. What I want you guys to do next is to remember the last time you had like a really personal kind of, not politics-wise, but a personal concern, something you saw, something you felt, something you realized about the environment or the climate change or stuff like that, something like a really personal detail in your everyday life. Just, do you have that moment in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, based on that moment, and you're not allowed to change it anymore based on the question that's going to happen. So, starting with Antti Kaikkonen, what was that moment and that concern, and how are you acting at the moment to make that concern go away or make the situation better? About 30 seconds.
Well, it was today actually. Not so many hours ago. I was in the city of Kotka actually, and the weather was so lousy. So I was just thinking that this is a part of climate change. Well, is it or not? It's difficult to say, but you get more rain here in Finland also in the future if the climate change goes on. And I'd say we have enough already rainy days here in this country. Well, one of my themes in this campaign is to fight against climate change and working for the renewable energy.
Yeah, and what was the concrete thing that you're doing to change this concern that you had?
You mean in my
personally?
Personally,
yeah.
Well, I've done a lot of things. Change car to a greener one, and change the way of heating my house, and so on. A lot of small things.
Okay, cool. And after Timo.
Well, the reason I was late from here was that there were us people on queuing on the motorways, just one person per car, and it took ages from my home to here. That's a very clear indication of what is one of the reasons why climate change is happening by us humans. And I'm very much in favor of the cyclist initiatives in Europe. There's a very small amount of the transportation budget that goes to cycling, promoting cycling in European cities, and the Association of Cyclists have proposed it to be tenfold, and I think that's fair enough.
And we really want to hear the personal stuff that you guys are doing to make things better. So. Yeah, after Sirpa Pietikäinen.
Well, I'm going to be a member of the European Parliament. I can do a lot of things.
Well, there's an array of things one could pick up because I get upset many times per day. But I really got upset last time. It was yesterday in one of these EU panels, and it was about whether EU should regulate about the wolves or not. And I got so upset and sad about our wolf hatred. And our attitude to biodiversity and to the threat of endangered species. What I'm going to do, at least I'm trying to defend the position, try to study and understand why it is on our minds that we see nature such a threat to us.
Sari.
Well, I have a summer cottage by the lake like many thousands Finns do have, and last summer I noticed that in the end of the summer there was this kind of green stuff. I don't know what is it in English.
Algae, yeah.
Okay.
Leva.
And then I thought that okay, there is something we should do for that, and because by the lake there is a lot of agriculture, and so I don't know if that's the main reason for it, but at least it has some consequences to do with that, and so to regulate all this leak water which is coming from the fields, that would be the solution, or part of it.
Well, a few years ago I was reading an article from a newspaper about endangered species, and especially tigers in many parts of the world, and that got me upset, and after a while I got into talks with this face-to-face guy from WWF, and I joined the organization. Even though I'm not environmentalist faithful, I'm concerned of this issue, and I think that the organization is doing a great job on that issue, and I want to support that.
So the last time you had a concern was a few years ago.
I'm not such a concerned human being. I'm sorry. A few years ago. I'm being honest.
Yeah, of course. That's cool.
Well, I'm more the concerned type, I think, perhaps because I have 3 children and we discuss a lot also these issues at home. So I have this concern every week, I think. And last week, one very everyday thing was that I was really upset I have been very upset when I have noticed that people have started to throw away a lot of trash again in the nature. So, for example, last week when I was walking out with my dog, I tried to clean up and I picked up all the plastic trash as I found and threw it away in a bin. And at the same time, my oldest daughter, she wrote an essay about the big plastic problem that we have in the big seas and oceans.
I like to pick mushrooms, and therefore I go around in Finnish forest quite a lot. And about 30 years ago, I started to notice that there are oak saplings in our forests, oaks that did not grow there earlier. This indicated that the winters are actually warmer, because usually it's the frost that kills them. And they bring their whole micro ecosystem with them. And this came to my mind last summer when I was sitting in the outhouse on my summer cottage and reading a Reader's Digest from 1970s, telling a story how carbon dioxide emissions are making our climate warmer. We have known this since 1970.
Yes, I'm mostly concerned personally about people throwing away good stuff which is a bit broken but which could be repaired easily. And I really don't like throwing stuff away like that. I'd like to repair as much as possible.
Okay, thanks. And so, next off, we have an individual question for Sirpa Pietikäinen. You have stated on your webpage that we already have the technology to solve climate and energy issues, but the problem is in our heads. That's a quote, in our heads. What are these answers that are so readily available, and what makes it so hard for your European parliamentary group to take the necessary steps towards them?
I think that the biggest obstacle is for the people to see the new and better and the different way of doing things, like it is, as you mentioned, about whether the planet is flat or why did you have to fight against Copernicus and stuff like that. IKEA is planning to rent kitchens, that is circular economy. Dow Chemicals is already renting chemicals that actually very quickly and drastically cuts down the amount of used chemicals. Interface Carpet Company is renting carpets. Michelin is renting tires for airplanes and heavy machinery. That's just one example. We can build homes and houses that are energy plus houses, and actually we can build energy systems. You guys have been planning those in here that can bring up about 20 to 30% of our energy consumption from small sources, and so on and so on. There's plenty of examples that are business opportunities and profitable and make life better and easier, not worse off.
Okay, thanks. Okay, next up we have another short round for everyone. Let's start with Sari, and can we get the mic to Simon as well? But let's go this side first. So the question is this. In your opinion, what is the most important technological, or most interesting technological innovation that we have going on at the moment, and what is the EU's role in enabling the better usage of this innovation?
I would pick up clean technology, because that is something that Finland would also benefit. We are really good at that, and we just should be good at marketing it as well. And so I would pick up that.
Sirpa.
It's a hard choice. I would pick up the solar energy, especially the paints that are developed on that field, or then I would pick up the e-health, how with medical devices and big data you could bring up to 70% of the services to the customers, to your mobile phones, tablets, or screens at home. Better life, reduce costs, and all that stuff. Innovations, good markets globally.
Well, to put it more generally, I think that all technologies that are more resource efficient than the current ones are something that across the board should be encouraged by the European Parliament, the European Union, and are being encouraged as well. So this is something I want to support with my whole heart.
well, I would like to pick up also something from energy, but let's say solar energy, as Sirpa said also, because there has been a lot of development in this area during, let's say, past 20 years, and I believe that there's still a lot to be done there. And the European Union is supporting R&D projects in this field.
Simon.
Well, I'm a gamer myself, so I would probably say Angry Birds if it would be a technological innovation, but it's not. So I would say certain devices designed to create virtual reality, like Google Glasses maybe, and some of the others, I don't remember all the names, but from various companies. And if you think about the European internal market, as I said earlier, I'm in favor of that, of free trade zone. So if this kind of a product would be like from Finland, of course we would have easier access to 500 million customers inside the European Union or the free trade zone.
A quick pause, we have a comment from the audience. Was it?
Okay, I try to be a bit more specific. I thought about smart electric solutions. I mean, solutions that you can, for example, regulate some kind of saunas and other things, the heat in the houses on distance. I think this is really smart, and this is very good for saving energy and energy efficiency.
I was to say digitalization, but if you want specific, I would go to artificial intelligence, particularly Watson, because these new applications for Watson are quite revolutionizing everything we do. It is already making cancer diagnosis in US, and it's now used to analyze the situation in Africa to give political ideas for leaders of the world how to solve the problems of Africa. So, yes, Watson.
Yes, I think the technology I'd like to highlight is fusion power. And because you wanted me to be specific, so I should say deuterium and tritium reaction. And I think that's the way of the future.
Oh, we have an audience question over here. Can we get the throw box? Catch box, I mean. It doesn't matter, it's just so cool throwing it around. The round thing, you should, yeah. Did we break the catch box? Try again.
Hello? Okay, I can speak loud.
Okay, let's try speaking loud.
All right.
Yeah.
So, let's do it analog.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a question actually for those here that participated in the government.
Can you throw me the catch box? Yeah, just speak louder. Oh, now it's working?
He doesn't want me to speak. Let me get close to you.
Yeah, let's.
Still work close to you.
Oh, maybe it's just my mic. You can talk to my chest. You can talk there. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be engineers.
Well, so anyway, I think you can hear me. My question is actually for those that participated in government who actually measures. It seems to be a cognitive dissonance. If you're actually supporting green measures, and I know many people are positive about the idea of changing the way the houses are sustainable. I don't know, change the way the kitchen, the way cars are, in order to fit the needs. Obviously, requires more money, more subsidies. But the austerity measures are actually destroying the middle class. How can you support austerity measures? Destroy the middle class. And at the same time, expect the middle class to suddenly rise up, and help with the development of a more greener Europe. Don't you find that there is a cognitive dissonance here? On one hand, you say X, but on the other hand, you do everything that fights it.
Well, it's a politician. What do you expect?
Yeah, can we get the mic to?
Well, that's what usually happens.
Where's the mic from this side? Yeah. Okay.
Who
Who was this question directed to? Is it?
Well, you were staring to my eyes so that they watered, so probably it was the coalition party.
Actually supported the austerity measures. How can you explain this
this is a contradiction. I think you have to live with this contradiction.
Can we others speak as well?
Of course, anybody else who... Well, firstly, and that comes from my personal opinion, to me this austerity or non-austerity is this kind of an ideological, theoretical debate. Both if you run the inflation route or if you run the austerity route, you have problems, but they are different kind of problems. It's just pick and choose what you want, and that is the point. The second point is EU hasn't had totally austerity policy. It has sort of mixed it. If you look what the ECB has been doing, for example, as well. Fourthly, and now if you are referring to Greece and others, this is the lack of the tools of the EU to comply the constitutional rights and social services for the people, because as you know, there's a certain breaking point if you just speed up debting. This is not a Finnish case, but if you look, for example, the Greece case, after certain point, your debt and your interests are raising such a high figure that, yes, you can only do it by superinflation that ends up with ruins.
Yeah. Thanks.
But anyway, how you do it, it is prioritizing. Yeah. And you can do it, and you can either stack subsidies for old-fashioned economies. By the way, Greece have done that too. By the way, Eastern European countries have done that too. By the way, we all have done that too, and that's a bad policy. You can have a choice what you support. We support fossil fuels with 6 billion euros every year all over the EU. So why heck we didn't use that money for green technologies? It's a matter of a choice more than this austerity debate. Sorry.
You haven't answered my question, actually. Because you asked how to do it. Not fully. What I ask is that the impact of the austerity measures on the middle class will not allow it to contribute to the green effort in Europe. So what I'm saying is that all the points you mentioned before, I support that, and I think most people, not only in Finland but in Europe, would also support it. The problem is that we do not have the deep pockets to do so. So my question to you is that how can you support
just started
X and
with
Y?
the austerity denialism. You can continue to do
Please answer because you asked me. The point in Greece is that they still have huge subsidies for old-fashioned sites. They still have 10 billion on uncollected tax debt. They still have tax subsidies for huge companies and on the shipping industry. Why? So they didn't, read my lips, they didn't need to impoverish the middle class, what they did. Bad politics. No, it was not IMF, it was not the EU who forced it. It was a national politics, and they have to bear the responsibility, like we have to do it ourselves in Finland. We haven't always made good choices here either.
It's great to see debate between the audience and the candidates. Quick comment from Mr. Timo Harakka, then we really need to move on since we have a third section to go.
Just 2 points. One point that just demolishes your argument about debt and markets is that Greece, Ireland, Portugal, and Spain, they all have worse debt to income positions now than 4 years ago, and they're back in the market. So suddenly it's not the problem anymore. And secondly, this phenomenon you mentioned is true also in Germany. 5.5 million people who used to be middle class have dropped to the lower class, and 500,000 have climbed up to the upper class. So there are no more customers, there are no more consumers for more efficient technologies, and that is a sorry state that's caused by austerity.
By the way, it's really cool to have your own book as a cheat sheet. It's very
right.
Yeah. But okay, quick audience comment, and then we'll move on. We have to move on, people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So many of you have been mentioning the green energy. So this is a yes or no question. You can use the papers, and it's do you include nuclear power as green energy?
It's the most green energy there is. Please,
okay. Great question and a bit divided answers, but the most.
I'm the only green one, real green.
There's two.
No, we have Janne as well.
Janne.
No, you're not.
Okay.
We are the green.
Great question from, yeah, remember you can ask this kind of questions from the audience as well. But then, moving, before the third section, we have one individual question left, that's for Sari Essayah. So, according to the environment program of your party, the Finnish Christian Democratic Party, it says, and I quote, it's you want to cherish the value of the environment and you're committed to protection of the environment. Then, at the same time, the Parliament voted on EU strategy of the Arctic earlier this year, and in this vote, or in this strategy, there is this amendment that states that the Arctic region should remain untouched until a binding regulatory framework has been reached. And there's this amendment that says that the region should remain untouched, and then you voted against this. So how do you explain your decision to vote against the protection of the Arctic area?
It was not against the protection, but it was against the amendment which was saying that it should be untouched, because it's already touched. There is already all kind of businesses going on in Arctic. We should have a very realistic picture of the Arctic area. It's not some kind of reservoir there, which is only for nature protection. There are people living there, and at the moment they are going to their jobs, they are having their businesses there. There are people who are having their education there. For example, the University of Rovaniemi is the biggest university in the Arctic area. We should understand that that area is for living also. So it's very unrealistic to have this kind of amendment that it should be untouched. There are people living there. I don't know what is the idea of untouched area, because it's already touched.
Okay, cool. I have to ask Timo, how are you doing on time? Because I was told that you might have to leave, but do you have time for us left?
Yeah, 15 minutes or 10.
Okay, cool. Then let's move on to the third section. And then when you need to go, just, you can say farewell. But
it's a domino effect. I'm late from every place I go.
Okay, cool.
I just would like to know that was that amendment by the Green Party?
I wouldn't know. Is there someone who? Yeah.
Remember, there are Sami people, there are a lot of other people living in the area, so if these kind of amendments are tabled in the European Parliament, you should know something about the Arctic area and not just vote for some kind of ideological strange ideas.
Okay, so the third theme section is going to be the future of Europe, very bold theme for the last bit. And we're going to be beginning this theme with a final section, or we will have like two different kind of presentations about the future of European integration. The first one will be we will hear a comment from Mr. Saku Lehtinen. Where is he? He's over there. So we have Saku on the stage. He's the president of the United European Federalists Association in Finland. And Saku, please join us on the stage and we'll get you a mic. Can we get a big hand from Saku Lehtinen?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to be here. First of all, I can say I'm a member of a very few people who can actually proudly say themselves as a federalist. And I'll shortly put in a few words why this is so. First of all, democracy. The EU has commonly known as a problem, democracy deficit. So how we and I should conquer this problem? I think we should create a very bicameral parliamentary system within the European Union. And why? Because this should guarantee that the voters actually have better judgment for our decision makers, better than now. And the other point in this sense is the fact that now it's not very clear how the power has the division of power between EU and member states. I think this kind of constitution and parliamentary institution should make that more clearer than now. I mean, this is very important to remember. I am against to make EU a common state. I don't want it. I don't want to be like Finland or Sweden or otherwise. I want to be federal, because I think the federal system also guarantees the power of the member states. It's not just, dropping drop by drop to the Brussels. Okay, and another point, what one concern is also here said quite a lot. It's global challenges, global problems like global warming, climate change, global competitiveness with raising countries like China, India, and etc. So if we can make a more competitive EU, so we can tackle WTO negotiations, climate negotiations on international level. So I think that's very important to create more, how I put it, global actor. You put a global actor who can actually make this leading, as Timo Harakka mentioned, in many sections. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great. So that was the what we want to do here for the third section is we get kind of two views and then we'll discuss. So the first view is you heard some points about Europe becoming more integrated, more federalized, and then again we have for example in the UK we have a party called the UKIP, which is the United Kingdom Independence Party. It's they're winning voters on their side, and this party obviously wants the UK to leave EU. They're against the European integration. So
I don't mind. Good riddance.
with the great accent as well.
I like it.
Yeah. So we'll go and watch a video of a person called Susan Evans. She is a councillor with this party who wants the UK to leave EU. It's a 2-minute video. Let's watch this and then we'll discuss.
A place that needs no introduction, a symbol of British independence and freedom. I'm at the South Foreland Lighthouse in Dover, just 21 miles from France and continental Europe. For centuries, the English Channel defended us against invasion and the threat of control by major powers in Europe. But today, politics has rendered it all but irrelevant. I find it appalling that we give £55 million to Europe every day more than we get back. Meanwhile, here in our own country, 2.5 million of us are unemployed. Hundreds of thousands of us are relying on food banks for survival, and we're still 900 billion in debt. That money should be spent sorting out our own problems. But it's not just the money, it's the interference. I sometimes think there must be a group of bureaucrats sat in a Brussels office somewhere thinking, what can we do to screw up people's lives today? Often their schemes are laughable. But when they threaten to take us to court because we insist EU migrants should prove they live in Britain before they claim benefits, then it goes beyond a joke. We've given away too much of our power, and the current government isn't making much effort to get it back anytime soon. Yes, a referendum is promised by the Tories in 4 years' time when we've lost even more powers, and only then if we vote them in as a majority government in 2015. And talk of trying to repatriate powers is just that. Existing treaties make this nigh on impossible. I think we're better off out of Europe, and that's why I've joined UKIP. The inability of the Conservative Party leadership to connect with issues on the doorstep just made the decision all that easier. And I know there are plenty of other people, voters and politicians, who are sick of the lib-lab con and ready to make a similar journey.
Okay, so that was further discussion, some different kind of thoughts. Then in this last bit, we'll be talking about European integration. And the first question about this is for everyone. It's a 30-second question where I would like you to do two things. First, considers your party in the European Parliament, because if you become an MEP, you won't be representing Finland, but you will be representing a political ideology of the party that you will be part of. So number one, tell us like with like one sentence, what is this party's like stance towards European integration? And then number two, do you agree with this position? And you have 30 seconds, and we'll begin with Janne over here.
Okay, I think the Pirate group in the European Parliament is very pro-Europe, and I also, to some extent, support their views.
Actually, Greens and the Pirates are in the same group in the European Parliament, and I think it's the most pro-EU group in the whole Parliament.
And you agree with this?
Yeah.
And my party belongs to the Liberal Alliance group, and that is also a very pro-EU group. That doesn't mean that it is a group for a federate EU, but of course a group that speaks a lot for both for the member states to have their possibilities to influence on the politics, but also want to strengthen certain areas and make EU a stronger actor globally.
There are actually two EU critical groups in the European Parliament that I might join if I'm elected. The Europe of Freedom and Democracy, which is the part of UKIP, as you said, see in the video, their views in a nutshell. And the other group is Europe of Conservatives and Reformists, ECR group. And the other group wants to reform, the ECR wants to reform the Union as a free trade zone, which is the stance that I have personally and which I'm in favor of. And the EFD group would like to get out of the European Union for good. So in my mind, the best option and the most realistic option is to reform the Union as a free trade zone, not to have a political union, not to have a federalist union. That's my stance.
Sirpa and I, we both belong to the EPP group, European People's Party, and it's very pro-integration group, but there are differences inside the group that which kind of integration. For example, for many of us, the integration of internal markets is very important, but then on the other hand, for example, CDU and many of us coming from the Nordic countries, we are against common debt and, for example, against Eurobonds, and so there are differences when it comes to this kind of, I would say, common debt integration. And yeah, Sirpa, you probably would like to add something.
Yes, indeed. I think that Sari is very right. It's a big party and it has its differences. I would say that the main line coming from Kokoomus and the center-right parties line is very clear. Pro-integration, deeper integration, and more areas integration and faster integration. But then again, as Sari said, there are some differences, and there are quite a number of minor parties because there are quite a number of countries where you have different parties joining the same group, like actually it is the case with the Greens and the Pirates as well, and so there's slight differences there.
Right, so Social Democrats are the original true international party, and, well, Greens are the second. And, yes. And as opposed to many other groups, we are very consistent in our policy, and thus can be influential if we get the vote. The EU is a natural arena for our action and activism. We are very much for sensible integration, and the key word here is solidarity.
Yes, my party, Center Party, belongs to the liberal group, such as Christina's party. Also, we have 3 seats there right now, and our group supports, of course, liberal values such as freedom and human rights. And I'd say also it's a pro-European group. Well, is my party a pro-European group? Well, well, it is a good question. Yes, it's a good question. We have different dimensions inside our party. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. But I'd say we have a realistic picture of the European cooperation. First time I got the bell, by the way.
Now you can't continue.
Thank you very much.
I feel for you.
Okay, people, let's get your pieces of paper ready. We'll have a few yes and no questions considering the European integration, or should there be some? So no, no questions yet. Just so first one: should the European Union speak with one voice in global arenas such as the United Nations? If you want to comment on this from the audience or from the candidates, you can have brief comments. And yeah, please.
Yes, I voted both yes or no, which is really uncharacteristic for me. But yes, I did, because if you mean European Commission, I vote no. It's undemocratic bureaucracy. But if we are talking about the European Parliament or another democratically elected body, I'm very much for it.
Yeah, Simon.
I understood that the question is if we should have a unified voice in like the United Nations as a European Union. And of course, it's no doubt, it's no surprise that I say total no. Well, why? Because in my mind, if you think about the situation in Ukraine and like the stance that Finland has towards Russia and like Portugal has towards Russia, we don't have a unified policy on that because we don't have a single benefits on Russia. I mean, we have different views on how should we behave with the country because of our national interests. We have different national interests from Finland. The Portuguese have different national interests. We have a long border with Russia that, for example, the Portuguese doesn't have. So we should have a unified foreign policy if we have a unified interest. But we don't have unified interest, so unified foreign policy is impossible.
Thanks. Last comment on this question from Sari Essayah and then.
In UN, I think that we should change the concept of the Security Council because now it's from those countries which were the winners of the Second World War, and I think that it's really that we should forget that history and we should go forward, and that's why I think that the EU should have one representative there, and otherwise also we should consider that how the Security Council should be changed because at the moment it's very inefficient, and it's, as we have seen with the crisis in Syria, it's locked. The situation is locked. It can't be making any decisions which would be helpful.
And Sirpa has some funny one-liner for Simon.
Yeah, by 2050 we are 7% of the world population and about 10% of the GDP. Would it make any sense to work better and more efficiently together and with one voice? And who was it who wanted to have the international and multilateral global agreements? With 28 different votes. Yeah. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, I'm losing authority when I said we're moving on then and then just giving you guys the chance to talk. But yeah, just a quick comment and then moving on.
The last time that we tried to have a unified voice in Europe was when we had the Second World War. It was this one guy from Germany. And I would never like to go back there again to have a unified voice in Europe because I love Europe. I love Europe of different nations, different cultures, of polarity, not single unified Europe of same cultures and in the same shell that is killing us right now. So I'm not into that. Sorry.
And he said when we have a memory day of a world war.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this brings us to
EU is going to the wrong direction, totally wrong direction.
Okay, but this brings us to our next question actually, which is, you have your tickets ready, your piece of paper ready? Yeah, and please hold you don't have to hold it up high, but just, hold it somewhere so people can, throughout the discussion, people can see what your stance was on the question. So the next question is, should the United Nations, the European Union, should we have a common army? Okay, comments on this? Yep.
Let me just say that I'm terribly sorry that I need to go. I'm going to be late from the next appointment. I just have to force myself to go from this this really enjoyable meeting we've had here. Thank you very much for having me here, and let's have a good election. And remember to vote, each and every one of you, your neighbors, your friends, your family. Go to the booths and change Europe.
Yeah. Big hand for Mr. Timo Harakka. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so Mr. Jyrki Kasvi was about to comment on this. Can we have a mic? Yeah.
And should I, because I was suggesting?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the point is that we don't need a common army, but our army should be able to act to cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we have, for example, shared transportation logistics, and we have already actually, for example, our Galileo positioning system has already protected frequencies for military use. So things are already happening. The trouble is we are not officially making the decisions, and that's very dangerous, that we are doing military cooperation without any political control at the moment.
Yeah, Sirpa.
Just could continue on, I'll sign all of that. Yes, the joint army means integrated troops, integrated buys of the machinery, but the troops are national and used national when needed, but European when needed. It would be awfully stupid to rely on USA only in our future.
Yeah, Christina, Gestrin.
Yes, I think that it's really important that we cooperate in military things, but as 22 out of 28 countries belong to NATO, I don't find it realistic that EU would create an army of its own. But cooperation is very important.
Yeah, and the last comment from Mr. Simonello, and then.
EU is no security structure, doesn't have any guarantees. NATO is the only option. If we want to join or not, that's up to the people to decide in a referendum. It's no use to talk about EU on military issues.
Okay, and the last yes or no question. Should the European Union have a common immigration policy? Immigration policy.
Red is the color of the day.
So, Janne, you have a white paper? Yeah. Okay, so can you comment on that?
Well, I think the areas are so specific, the outer borders of the EU, that there should be immigration policy that's up to the member state to decide, because the different geographical circumstances.
Okay, Simon? Excellent.
The main problem is that Europe as a whole, not just the European Union, doesn't have any vision for immigration. We take people in, but we have no vision what the people should actually be doing here. I mean, the United States, for example, Australia or Canada, they had a vision of what the immigrants should be doing in Canada, in the United States, or Australia. They are made Americans, they are made Canadians, they are made Americans and such. But in Finland, for example, we are not actually making, at least in my mind, we are not making the immigrants Finns. So that's what we should be making first, to make them integrated, to make them Finns. And why I don't support the unified policy, I think it should be decided nationally what kind of immigration we have. Of course we have cooperation with other countries, but it shouldn't be on the EU level. It should be on the national level.
Okay, thanks, Sari Essayah.
At the moment, it is the member state which decide that what kind of immigration policy they have, and, for example, the number of immigrants and so on. But we have common rules that when, for example, an asylum seeker is coming to a country, we have common rules that how we are treating the application, and if, for example, a person is coming to Italy and then wants to go on to France to also table there an asylum as an asylum seeker. So we have this kind of regulation, for example, Dublin regulation. Then we have to put this person back to that first country, and we have this kind of common regulation which is needed. But still, I think that it's better than in the future the member state, they still can decide that what kind of immigration policy, how many immigrants and so on.
So quick comments from Christina and Antti, and then we'll move on to the next question.
I think that EU will get more refugees and immigrants in the future, and I think it's really important that EU has a common politics when it comes to immigration, and I think that EU should share much more than today the responsibility for immigrants. And I think that the important thing is not to make the immigrants Finns. I think everybody has the right to its own culture.
Okay, and last comment on this subject from Antti Kaikkonen.
Yes, I have to say I wasn't quite sure should I vote red or blue, because I think we should have this will be a major challenge for Europe in the future, and I think we should have a common principles in the European level, but I think there should be also room for national decisions.
Okay, so what would you guys want to do? We started a bit late, so we're a bit late on time. I have some questions here, but what I would like to do is to ask some questions from you guys, because we have officially a few minutes before 7 p.m. and then I don't know if someone needs to leave, we can stay here a bit later, but I think this would be a good point from have some questions from the audience for the candidates before they need to go. Over there we have Hanna, so.
Yeah, let's have one question from Twitter. It was from Julia. So if you could achieve only one goal at the EU Parliament this year, or this next term, yes, what would that be? One goal.
Yeah, sure, Simon.
One goal, to stop the federalization, to stop the destroying of our national sovereignty, our national rights, our own culture. That's what I love in Europe, the different cultures, and in my mind, the European Union, which goes as a federal union, it will kill the polarity that we have economically, culturally, and socially. And I cannot accept that, and that's the biggest issue that I will be tackling. And I'm not surprised that this guy is giving me the red one, because that's given. But that's the biggest issue.
Christina, yes.
Yes, I would. The thing I began with, I think that the youth unemployment is the biggest problem. So we have to take down the youth unemployment, and I want the young people, the youth in Europe, to believe in Europe, to believe in the European Union and possibilities to live here.
Well, at least one of the things I'd focus on would be Horizon 2020, the 87 billion euro framework program for research and science, to focus that money on creating future possibilities instead of defending dwindling old factories, and to reduce the bureaucracy required for scientists that apply and use those funds.
Okay, what I'd like to achieve is a common European digital market. According to a study by ICT sector, it would boost the EU economy as much as 500 billion euros.
I'd say we need less regulation, but better regulation. That's simple.
Yeah, and I want more regulation. Because there are new things. Worse. But you couldn't sort of regulate the internet or the data security on the 60s because it didn't exist. So this is the reason why you always need a new regulation. Well, if I only would need, could pick one, it would be the resource efficiency, and it's a set of tools on circular economy, on eco-design directives, on a more ambitious climate policy, and all that stuff.
For me, the one goal would be to make the internal markets to function better, and especially for SMEs, better possibilities and have less burdens for them to go cross-border. And this digital agenda, which was already mentioned, it's very important for Finland, and that would be also good for the internal markets.
Okay, we have time for one more audience question. Sir, over there. That was the first one with the hand up.
Oh, yes, this seems to work. Okay, what are your parties and your personal beliefs on internet censorship? Are you for or against? I'm talking both about the censorship that is in use at the moment and possible future plans like the UK have and other countries.
Who wants to start?
Internet censorship, it's not a part of a civil society. It's a tool for tyrants. I strongly oppose internet censorship in all on its forms.
I'm also against it. It would be as ridiculous to censorship internet as it would be to censorship electricity.
I'm not an expert in this, but I think that Jyrki Kasvi is more an expert, so I believe in him in this issue.
Short and sweet, against.
I'm not pro-censorship, but I think that there should be some tools for example, blocking child pornography sites and also possibilities to abuse children and young people. And so I think that there are these kind of bloggings which are not actually censorship, but for example, parents could have some security tools to supervise that what is happening with their children and so
on. To me, this is a bit of an old-fashioned, even though acute debate. It's like the internet would be another planet somewhere there. How do you regulate? How you should think about it? It's a part of this world. So the pros and cons and the regulations goes in the same line. Yes, if something is criminal in real life, it's criminal in the internet too. And you have sort of a sets and decisions to do that. But it's not censorship. You need a court order to do that. And yes, if I can't steal in the shop, I can't steal in the internet either. What's the problem there? But yes, if I have my privacy in what I do without any censorship in this world, I should have it in the internet. So keep it simple and apply the same constitutional rules in internet what you are doing in other parts of the world too.
So Antti, Kaikkonen, a really fast comment then from Jyrki Kasvi, and then we'll have one final question, then we wrap this up. So Antti, please go.
I can be, again, very quick. I agree with Sirpa.
Well, and what happens, for example, if you try to block child pornography? You actually create a tool for pedophiles to find child pornography. We use taxpayers' money to serve pedophiles in Finland.
Can you give an example so that everyone is on the same page? What kind of censorship we have at the moment that you want?
Well, as Kasvi said here, for instance, the so-called child pornography censorship system in Finland, for instance.
Yeah, so you mean some websites are blocked, for example? You mean that? Okay.
Yeah, well, yes, that's what censorship means. It blocks it before it's criminalized or anything.
Yes, and it helps to locate those web pages. It's not rocket science. It's something that every child can do, is to analyze the list without seeing it. This system was created by people who really, really did not understand how internet works.
Okay, it's a great question. I think we'll have to wrap this up. So for the last question, I want to ask you guys something personal. I have a journalist background, and journalists always are accused of making politics personal things. You know, there are students here. Students are well known for, being able to, after like a long, hard work for an exam or like some assignment, they know how to unwind. So imagine yourself on the eve of that Sunday when you get the result from the European parliamentary election, and of course, every one of you will get into the, European Parliament. But just imagine that you won't get in. What is your personal way of dealing with that pain? What will you do? Will you get drunk or will you go to skiing or what will you do? And starting with Antti Kaikkonen. And this will also be your last. If you have some final remarks, you can say them here. But this will be the last thing where you can speak on the microphones.
Well, thank you very much. I think I'm quite experienced in politics already. So I've lost in the elections before. I've won in the elections before. So I know how it works. And well, I'm planning to work anyway on next Monday, no matter what's the result of the election is. But well, I might take a beer anyway.
In both cases, sort of the drama is the same. We'll have a good crowd of all the wonderful people who have been working in the campaign. We'll be excited about the results, or upset with the results, have maybe a second beer, and then enjoy a good company. Next day I'm working as well, but the rest of the week is pretty easy. Getting a bit extra sleep and a bit extra exercise outside.
Sari, you come from a Christian party, so now surprise us.
Well, we would be singing psalms and hymns. that would always help.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Whatever happens, it always helps the Lord.
Yeah, you just turn your other cheek. You know. Okay.
Right. Well, the election night is a win-win situation. I mean, if I get elected, I take a few pints, and if I don't, I'll take a few pints more. So it's a win-win situation. As a closing remark, I would like to say that thank you for the panel discussion. It's been great. The Finnish party is not alone in Europe in criticizing the European Union and where it's heading. Like we saw on the video, the UKIP party is doing great, 31% in the gallops. The Conservative Party is also a EU critical party. They get about 20% of the votes. So the critical parties in Britain, in one of the biggest countries in the Union, get over half of the votes. So we are not alone. And this is what we are building on in the European Parliament. We'll have the third biggest group in the European Parliament. And I'm sorry, Mr. Lehtinen, we'll be stopping you and your ideas on federalizing Europe. Sorry. But I'm glad on that.
Well, I will be, of course, either happy or very upset. Anyway, I want to thank all those who have helped me during the campaign, and perhaps most of all my family, which hasn't seen me for many weeks and months. So, but then the day after, already on Tuesday, normal life goes on, and I will be back in Parliament, but in the Finnish Parliament.
Well, I promised to be in the Finnish Internet Forum on Monday, so I'll start to work on it out of my system on Tuesday, when I'm going to go on my summer cottage and start doing some work on my whatever is kasvihuone in English. Is it greenhouse? On my personal greenhouse effect.
Ever heard about greenhouse?
Well, if I didn't get elected, I think I would be drunk, and if I did, I would be drunk anyway, so it wouldn't change anything. Yeah, and if I didn't get elected, it just means that we need to work better for the next elections, as simple as that. And as said before, life goes on.
Thanks a lot. Hey guys, 2 hours after working hours, and I'm not sure if I've seen even one person leave the place. So you've been a great audience. Give yourself a big hand. And also, let's give a big hand for Mr. Janne Paalijärvi, Jyrki, Kasvi, Christina, Gestrin, Simon Elo, Sari Essayah, Sirpa Pietikäinen, Timo Harakka, and Antti Kaikkonen. Thanks, guys. Remember to vote. See you later. Näin voi jättää tähän kaikki.
Tiedä kuinka haivokasta joka tavalla on, niin pakkoa niitä itselleen.
Kiitos.